What's up guys, Learning with Rich here. In this video, before we move on to the topic we're going to define the volume in our project. So let us discuss first these last two couple of topics about setting up the project. Okay, so this first topic that I'm gonna discuss, it's a very short one. It's just like defining the discipline setting. Okay, so Revit Mep has these discipline settings that define the appearance and behavior of the system components in a project. So basically, discipline settings can be defined for electrical and mechanical disciplines. So after standard settings have been established, let's say for an organization, they can be configured in a template file to avoid having to set them for each project. So as a BIM manager, so it would be better to create a project template wherein you already set up there the discipline settings, which is what I'm gonna show you. Okay, so how to set up your discipline settings, just the basic one. Okay, so let me just open a sample file. Again, if you want to have this sample file, you can just put a comment on the comment section below, put your email address, and then I'll be sending it to you. Now, the first discipline setting that we are going to talk about is the mechanical setting. So you can type MS for that, or you can go to the systems, and then you see there's a mechanical. So you can click that arrow there, mechanical settings. It's the same as this one here, mechanical settings. Okay, so if I click that, it will open up the mechanical settings dialog box. Okay, so mechanical settings determine the behavior and appearance of the ductwork and piping for the mechanical, piping, plumbing, and fire protection systems. Okay, so if you want to modify the mechanical settings, so that is what you do. It's either you type MS or you just click that dialog launcher there on the Systems tab. Okay. As you can see here on the left side, so we have here some options or some settings that we can change. We have these categories like the hidden line category, wherein you can specify the hidden line settings here. And then you also have the duct settings. And then you also have here the pipe settings. So as you can see here, duct settings and pipe settings can be created in template files or copied to other projects using the transfer project standards, which we have discussed last time. Okay, so you can copy that using the transfer project standards option on the project settings panel of our manage tab. Okay, so let's talk about some of the options here on our mechanical settings. So the first one is the hidden line category. Using the hidden line settings, so you can define how a drawing appears when ducts or pipes is separate planes cross each other. Okay, so this indicates that the duct or pipe is hidden by and does not connect to the drawing segments in the foreground. So you have here the draw MEP hidden lines, which enables you to draw piping with the line style and gaps specified for hidden lines. And then you also have here an option, line style. It specifies a line style to be used when duct or pipe segments cross each other. So you can select from a list of predefined line styles, and you can also add this by defining the line styles in the line style dialog box. And then there are other options here like the inside gap, outside gap, distance, as well as the single line distance there. Okay, so aside from that, you also have the duct settings. So when you select the duct settings here on our left side, so the right pane here displays the settings that you can apply to the air systems in a project. Like for example, use annotation scale for single line fittings. So it specifies whether duct fittings are drawn at the size specified by the duct fitting annotation size parameter. And then you also have here duct fitting annotation size. So the default is 3 mm. So it specified the plotted size of fittings and accessories drawn in single line views. So this size is maintained regardless of the drawing scale. And then here you can also specify the density for the duct sizing calculation, the dynamic viscosity for the duct sizing calculation. So basically, any settings that has something to do with your duct, so you can find it here. So as a designer, you can modify this. Okay, so like the symbol here, okay, so like the round duct size suffix, so you can specify here. Okay, and then you also have your angles, okay, conversion, and then you also have rectangular size for the duct, oval, round, and then calculation. Okay, like for example, for the conversion, so use this to specify the elbow angle increment settings required for routing solutions of the main and branch system. Okay, so when you modify these settings for this system, so you can specify separate settings for the supply, return, air, and exhaust. So you can change from here. Okay, so when you create an automated routing or ducting, so you can specify here what is the type of duct that we will be using, and then what is the elevation, and then what is the setting for the branch. So you can also set it up here. And then there's the rectangular, wherein you can specify the sizes of your rectangular duct, oval, round, and then the calculation settings. Okay, so aside from that, you also have the pipe settings. So when you select the pipe settings, so the right pane here displays a set of settings that you can apply to the piping, plumbing, and fire protection systems in a project. Okay, so it's basically almost the same as the settings on the duct settings. Okay, so you also have here angles, okay, and then you also have the conversion, segments, and sizes. You can also specify here the fluids, slopes, and then as well as the calculation for the designers. Okay? Now, aside from the mechanical settings, let me just cancel this one. You also have the ability to modify the electrical settings. Okay, so you can type ES or you can type this arrow here. So like you can specify the electrical settings to maintain consistency in the behavior and appearance of electrical systems in a project. Okay, so you have categories here for the hidden line, okay, for general, okay, so you also have the angles, and then the wiring, okay, and then the wire sizes. You can specify here the material. You can create a new one if you want. You can click the drop down here to see the other material here, which is the copper. And then you can also specify the temperature, insulation type. Okay, so if you're an electrical engineer, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not an electrical engineer, so I'm just showing you the different settings that you can do before you start your project and while you are working on the project template. So you can incorporate all of these settings in your project template so that you do not need to do it again and again every time you create a project. You just put it on a template and then you just use that project template every time you start a project. Okay, so you have the wiring types here, voltage definition, distribution systems, the cable tray settings here, rise drop. Okay, so you know what I mean. So you can just go to the electrical settings, and then as an electrical engineer, you can set up your ES or your electrical settings. All right, so let's say, for example, I will be going back again to my mechanical settings. Okay, so you can remove the duct sizes that are not commonly used from the sizing list. So this prevents these duct sizes from being created when you use size or layout ducts. So let's say, for example, I'm going to select the conversion here, and then here on the main So you can specify what type of duct that you will be creating when you generate a duct for a supply air. So you can click the drop down, and then you can select from here, and then you can specify here the elevation. Okay, and then you can also go to rectangular, and then you can remove the size here. So let's say I want to remove some sizes here, so I'm going to clear 90. Let's say I don't want that. Okay, so the 90, let's say I don't want that. And then let's say 110, I don't like that. So I'm going to clear that. And then let's say 140 as well. Okay, so that is for my rectangular. Now let's say for the round here, so I click the round. Okay, so I also want to turn off that, the 90, and then the 110, and then let's say 140, and then let's say what else? 260. So I don't like this size here. 290. Okay, let's say 100, 310. Okay, so these are the sizes that I do not like to show when I create a duct for round and rectangular. Now, we can also modify the sizes on the pipe. So here on the pipe, so let's go to the segments here and sizes. Okay, so for the carbon, you can just uncheck from here. Okay, so let's say, for example, I don't want the 20 mm, so I'm just going to uncheck that one. Okay, and then I'm going to select OK. So that's it. Okay, so now let's say I also want to modify the electrical settings. So I click this, electrical settings. So I want to define, let's say, the tick mark. Okay, the tick mark can be found here on the excuse me, sorry. As you can see my voice, I'm kinda under the weather right now. Anyway, so let's go back. So here on the wiring, you can modify here how the wire tick mark shows. So if you click the value here, as you can see, there's no family loaded here. Now, if you want to change the tick mark, for example, so you can load it. So how to load it? So let me just cancel this one. Let me go to the insert. Okay, so let's go to load family, and then let's go to uh, electrical, MEP. Okay, electrical components. Okay, so where's that? Okay, so I think it's really here on the electrical or annotation. Electrical. There you go. So there's the tick mark. Alright. So you can find it on the annotations, electrical, and then tick marks. So let's say I want to load here the hook wire tick mark and then the long wire tick mark. So you can hold control. Okay, and then after that, just select open. Okay, so that's how you load the tick mark just in case you want to use one. So if you go back again to systems, electrical settings, let's go to the wiring. Okay, you can now load from one here. So you can click this. So let's say for the hot wire, I want the hook wire tick mark. Okay, and then for the ground, so I want the long wire tick mark. And for the neutral, so I want the long wire tick mark. So that's how you basically change, for example, the tick mark. And then there are other settings that you can also modify from here aside from that. So I'm just giving you an example. Alright, now let's select here OK. So basically this is the mechanical settings and electrical settings. Try to modify this when you are creating your project template. So you need to incorporate the settings on your mechanical template and electrical settings to your project template so that it is consistent. So every time you create a project, you already have the MS and ES settings on that template. Now, another thing that you might consider is when you are importing or when you are creating detail drawings in Revit, so you might consider importing an AutoCAD drawing. Okay, so because engineering firms maintain files in the form of libraries of commonly used drawing details. So you can use these details into the project and edit them as required. So importing and editing typical details enables you to save time and effort to avoid duplication of work. Okay, so let's do some example of this one. So let's say I'm going to open an exercise file, importing drawing detail. Again, if you want to have this exercise file, just put a comment on the comment section below and I'll be sending you this exercise file. All right, for this one, in this exercise, we're going to import an AutoCAD file to a Revit drawing drafting view and edit the drawing details. So let's say we need to create a standard detail for a mechanical curb. So we use a library file that exists in our company, for example, so that you do not have to model or sketch the connection. So that's the story. So what are we going to do? So we're going to create first a drafting view. So let's go to view. Let's create a drafting view. Okay, and then let's specify the name here. So drafting view, this is a 2D environment. So you cannot create 3D in a drafting view. Okay, so you remember that. So I'm just going to use the default template here, default scale. So I'm going to select here OK. Okay, so now let us check the project browser. There's our drafting view. So if I right click this, you can actually apply some template here if you want. So there's template properties. You can apply that detail. So you can apply that property. So I'll just select OK. Right. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is we want to modify or we want to specify the line weight of the CAD file that will be imported into our new drafting view. Okay, so to do that, so we need to go to the insert and then you see the import here. There's a dialog launcher. It says import line weights. So to specify the line weights of the CAD file that will be imported into our drafting view, so we need to modify it here. So let's import line weights. Let's click that one. And then let's say, for example, so I want to edit the number 5 color. Okay, so instead of 1, which is the default line weight, so I'm gonna change that 4. Okay, so we know that this number 5 color is actually a blue color. Okay, so for DWDXF color number 5 stands for blue. So as you can see under the line weight a while ago, by default it's 1. So I want to make that 4. Okay, so this line weight equals to 0.3048 millimeters or 0.018 inch at the scale of the drafting view. Well, anyway, I'm going to save as this. Okay, so I'm going to save that. So I'm going to save that in that folder. Okay, so I'll just put this one. This is the name. So I'll just select save here. And then just select here OK. So we are now done. So this is just an example. I'm just showing you that this is how you do it if you want to specify the line weights of the CAD file that will be imported to our drafting view. So you just need to click this and then you modify this one. Okay? And then I'll select here OK. Now, the next one is let us now import our CAD file. So let's select import. Let's select that one. Okay, so I'm just making that black and white. So black and white. Okay, I'll just put it at the center. Okay, and then I'll just select here OK. Open. All right, there you go. Okay, so now let's turn off the thin line so that we can see the line weight. So let's turn off. There you go. And then you will notice here one of the line weights, which is I think this one here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that. I'm going to select query. Query. Okay, so if you select query, you will be able to select your CAD drawing. Okay, you will be able to know what is the layer. Okay, so let me do that again. So I click the imported CAD file, and then there's a tool there, query. Okay, so let's say I'm going to click this. There you go. So what's that? So that layer is a detail medium. Okay, and then one thing that you will notice here is notice that the leader lines in the AutoCAD file retain their defined line weight when imported to Revit. So before importing the AutoCAD file, a while ago we specified the line weight for elements on layers with blue color. So therefore, the steel joist and then the flashing in our import are slightly thicker than the leader lines and much thicker than the other lines. That's the one that I'm talking about, right? Okay, so it is much more thicker. So because we changed that line weight to 4. Okay, now let us try to edit the drawing details. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, and then there is an option here, delete layers. So you can delete the layers that you do not need. So I'm going to select delete layers. And then let's say I do not need a layer 0. So I'm going to tick the layer 0. And then the depth points, we don't need that. And then I'm going to select here OK. There you go. So that's one way of editing your drawing details. So another way is by going to the visibility graphic overrides. So you can go to the properties, or you can type VG or VB. Okay, so to open up the dialog box. So you need to go to the imported categories so that you can see there your drawing, right? Your imported drawing. So you can expand that, and then you can see here all the layers. Okay, so let's say, for example, we are going to hide the title block and then the title text in the import symbol. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a detail identity, which is this one. So I'm going to uncheck that, and then I'm going to select OK. So I'm just showing you here that you can modify the visibility of the layers of the CAD drawing using the visibility graphic overrides. You just need to go to the imported categories. So let's say I want to hide this layer, so I'm going to select OK. And there you go. So it's now hidden, right? So that's another way of editing your drawing. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is we are going to modify the line weights for lines representing the edges of the members in the section. Okay, so to do that, so let me just zoom in here for you to be able to see it clearly. So I'm going to open again the visibility graphic overrides, go to the imported categories, and then this time, let us look for a detail wide. That one. So to edit the line weight of this, you can see you can click override here on your lines column, right? So you click that, and then let's change the line weight here. So you can expand this, then let's say 6 to make it more thicker. Okay, and then for the color, I'm going to select that, just make it black. Okay, so I'm just showing you that you can change the color here. So let's say I want that to make red. Okay, so I change that to red, and then I select here OK. And then I select OK. Now, to modify the line weights for lines representing a section of still members, so we're going to change the teen one, this one. So I'm going to override that. So again, let's modify the line weight. So let's say I make it 2 for the color. So let's say I make it green so we can see it. And then I'm now going to select here OK, and then OK, and then OK. And there you go. So as you can see, that is another way of editing your drawing. So I'm just changing the color so that you'll be able to see where is that particular element that I am modifying. Okay. Now another way is you can actually explode this, because as you can see, if you click that, let's say there is a wrong spelling on the AutoCAD drawing, you cannot just double click it and change, right? So you need to explode it. Alright, so that's the another way of editing your AutoCAD drawing. So you can click that and then import instance. So there's an option here, explode. So I can select that. So I'll just select partial explode to explode the 2D data contained in the import symbol. So I select that one. There you go. So it's now exploded. Okay. So if you now see some wrong spelling, so now is the right time to change it, because you can now double click, right? Because it's now part of Revit. So it's now becomes Revit lines and Revit text. So you can now move the text if there are some overlapping text, wrong spelling, okay? So you can now modify it. Now to display the title block and then the title text in our import symbol, so we can now go back again to the visibility graphic overrides, import. Let's go to the identity, just tick that one, and then let's select here OK. There you go, right? So if I click that, you notice that if I select the boundary, the title also selected, right? Okay, so it also selected. So you can explode this completely. So let's say you want to separate this one, because if I click the boundary, it also select this one. So if you want this to be separated, so I can just fully explode that one. Full explode. There you go. So it's now separated. Okay. So now to edit the style for the detail lines of the import symbol, so you just modify it. Okay. So you can go to the Manage tab, and then you can go to look for the line style. So there's the line styles here. So if you want to edit the style for the detail lines of the import symbol, so you can go to the line style, and then you can expand that. So you will now be able to see here all the lines that is currently being used. Like for example, the A detail wide. Where is that? This one, right? So let's say I want to make that 6. Okay, 6. Because after you explode the elements, it now becomes Revit lines. It now becomes Revit text. It's not anymore controllable in the import, in the visibility graphic overrides, because you already exploded. So once you explode it, you will not be able to control it using your visibility graphic overrides, because it's already exploded. It now becomes part of Revit. So if you want to edit the line types, so you need to go here on the line style, and then you can edit here. So let's say for the A detail wide, I want to change that to 6. So let's say I also want to change the color. So let's say I want it blue. Okay, and then okay. So I'm just showing you that you need to go to the line styles to modify it. Okay, and then select your OK. And there you go. See? So it's now edited. So you cannot edit it here anymore, because you already exploded this one. Okay? Right, now for the text, if you want to modify the text, like for example, this one, if you want to change that, so let's say I do not want the style of this text. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to select one of the texts, right click, and then there is an option here, select all instances. So I'm going to select visible in view. So it will now select all of this text with the same style, and then I can now change it. Okay, so let's say I want to change that to 1.87. There you go. Okay, and then I can now just click outside. Okay, and then as you can see, just need to edit this, click, and then move it up. There you go. Okay, just tidy up your drawing. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So I can also change this one. So I can click, hold control. Let's click the other text here. And then let's change that to, let's say, 5 mm. Click. There you go. All right. Now let's say, for example, for this one here, this detail level, this hatch. Okay, so this filled region. Okay, so you want to change this filled region. So you just need to select that, and then after that you can click the drop down arrow here. You can change from here, like for example rigid insulation type, filled region. There you go. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is, right after you import your AutoCAD drawing in Revit, you can still edit that, okay, as required. Alright, so basically that's the topic for today's discussion. So we have discussed the discipline settings and importing drawing detail. Okay? So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can put it on the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.